Welcome back, everybody, to an episode of UFC Main Card Predictions. We got a heck of a card waiting for us tomorrow night, UFC 232, December 29th. Jones versus Gustafsson, Cyborg versus Nunes, and boy, it's already filled with a lot of controversy. Jones did it again, but we'll touch on that a little bit later. I don't want that controversy to take away from the fact that this is still an amazing card and you all should be tuning in for it. So let's jump into the first fight of the night out of the featherweight division. Number 5, Chad Money Mendes versus number 10, Alexander the Great Volkanovski. So we're kicking it off. This is actually a heck of a fight and one heck of a matchup, I think. Let's touch on Alexander Volkanovski quick first. So Alexander started wrestling at a really young age, actually quit all of that and was a rugby player until his early 20s, was an Australian rugby player. Didn't start training MMA or Greco-Roman wrestling again until he was 22 years old. Fun fact, though, is when he started training MMA and competing in MMA, he was 210 pounds. Now he's fighting in the featherweight division, 145 pounds. So just a heck of an athlete, short, stocky, powerful, good wrestler, good counter striker, big overhand right, like with a lot of the wrestlers we see in the UFC. His record's 18-1, so he's been on a roll. I think he lost a fight early on in his career, and he's won, I think, over 10 in a row since. But he's fighting Chad Mendes, who, like Alexander, is short, stocky, athletic, quick, and a great wrestler. So I really like this matchup. Stylistically, they're very similar. I just think Chad's better. You know, if we look at the wrestling aspect of this game, which I think is going to play a prominent role throughout the fight, is the wrestling. I think Chad's just better. You know, Alexander was a great wrestler in Australia. Chad was a 2-time All-American here in the States. So there are levels to this game, and I think Chad's just a better wrestler. I also think Chad's faster. I think Alexander, though, one thing I will give him is that I think he's a little bit more powerful than Chad. But I think Chad's faster. I think he's a better wrestler. And I think his technique is more crisp. You know, Chad didn't start MMA until after he was done wrestling in college. So he got, you know, maybe a late start on it as well, not until his early 20s. But he's just been doing it longer. So I think technically Chad's a little bit better than Alexander. But one other thing you need to look at is the level of competition that Chad's been facing his entire career is at the top of the game. Chad's got 4 losses in his mixed martial arts career. 2 of those were to Jose Aldo, 1 of those to Conor McGregor, and 1 of those to Frankie Edgar. So he's only lost to UFC Hall of Famers, all right? And I don't think Alexander Volkanovski is I don't think he's gonna come in to the octagon with Chad Mendes and beat him at his own game. I don't see him winning wrestling. I don't see him outstriking Chad. I do see Alexander's path to victory coming through by way of a big overhand right. So Chad did get TKO'd by Conor McGregor, and he got KO'd by a glancing left from Frankie Edgar. So Chad's a little bit older now. His chin has taken a little bit of damage. I do see Alexander winning this via big overhand right. Other than that, I'm going Chad all day. Give me a unanimous decision, Chad Mendes. And oh, by the way, Chad Mendes was a slight favorite coming out of Vegas in that fight. He was a -140 favorite, Volkanovski +120. So let's jump into fight number 2 out of the light heavyweight division. Ilir, the Sledgehammer Latifi, ranked number 5, versus number 10, Corey Overtime Anderson. Same odds in this fight. Latifi -140, Overtime Anderson +120. So Latifi's a Swede, just like Gustafsson. He was a 2-time national wrestling champion out of Sweden. Short, stocky. He's 5'10", but he started his MMA career actually in the heavyweight division. So he's kind of like a Daniel Cormier, just jacked, more shredded. Great wrestler, good striking. I actually think Latifi, he's one of those guys who has some kind of freakish abilities. He's a world-class wrestler, but he's got some lightning in his hands. So really exciting fighter to watch. He's up against Corey Anderson, who is a boxer and a wrestler, just like Latifi. Corey was actually the Ultimate Fighter light heavyweight winner. I think that was Team Edgar versus Team Penn. So Anderson isn't quite the knockout artist or finisher that Latifi is. So out of Anderson's 11 wins, he's 11-4 in his MMA career. Out of his 11 wins, he's got 4 knockouts and 7 decisions. So most of his fights, most of his wins are coming by way of decision. He's lost 3 out of his last 6 fights, though. So he only has 4 losses on his record, but 3 of those are in his last 6 fights. So he's gone 500 over 6. 2 of those 3 losses were by way of knockout. And I don't like that for Corey when you're up against somebody like Ilir Latifi, who packs that kind of power in one punch. So I think there's an advantage there going to Latifi. I see a lot of ways that Latifi can win this fight. You know, Corey is also a boxer and a wrestler, just like Latifi, as I mentioned, but there are levels to this game, as I mentioned in the Mendes video. And Latifi is a superior wrestler to Corey Anderson. I think when you look at striking, Latifi throws more and he's more powerful. I think he's a faster striker too. From some of the videos that I was watching, he's faster as well. Quite frankly, I think that although this is a very good matchup, I think that Ilir has the advantage in most aspects of this fight. Where I think Corey has the advantage is in his attributes. He's much taller. He's 6'3" versus 5'10". He's got a 5.5-inch reach advantage. So I think if he's coached very well and is able to use his distance and his reach, I think he could beat Ilir via decision. But other than that, or maybe catching him with a big punch, maybe. He's not a knockout artist, though. So I see a lot of ways that Ilir can win this fight, and I don't see many paths to victory for Corey. I think Ilir wants to be the champion of this division. I don't think he'll quite get there. I'm going Ilir Latifi first round KO. Third fight of the night, ladies and gentlemen, coming out of the welterweight division. Carlos, the natural born killer Condit versus Michael Maverick Chiesa. This is a fight that not many people are talking about, but I think has every possibility of being, maybe not fight of the night, but being one of the best fights of the night. Now, I'm not so sure it should be on this card, or at least the third fight of the night right before the co-main event and main event. Carlos has lost 4 fights in a row, and Chiesa has lost 2 fights in a row. So combined, they've lost 6 fights in a row. So I'm not quite sure what this is doing right in the middle of one of the best cards of the entire year, if not maybe the best card of the entire year. But I still think that it has all of, every possibility to be a great fight. So, Chiesa, 31 years old, wrestler, BJJ brown belt. Condit, 34 years old, kickboxer, BJJ brown belt. Chiesa's 6'1". Carlos, depends on where you look, is 6'1" or 6'2". So both very tall, lanky guys. Chiesa is traditionally has been a lightweight, fighting out of the 155-pound division. He's stepping up to the welterweight division, 170 pounds to face Condit. So I think it's a good idea for him, though. His last fight against Anthony Pettis, he missed weight. I think he was 157.5 weighing in for that fight. So I do like that. As a former wrestler myself, I know how hard these weight cuts can be and how physically draining it is and hard to perform to the best of your abilities after such a draining weight cut. So I do like that Chiesa's moving up, and I think Condit, is a good matchup for him stylistically. You know, he's older, he's been losing, but Carlos is the natural born killer. So watch out, Michael Chiesa. I think Chiesa, he's a pressure fighter, right? So he's always moving forward. He's not moving forward with strikes necessarily. He'll throw a quick combination, rarely lands it, but he'll throw a quick combination and get in on your legs. Single legs, double legs. Gets the takedown, and what's his record overall? It was 14-4 overall. 10 of his 14 wins have come by submission. 0 knockouts. I think 8 or 9 out of 10 of those submissions have come rear naked choke. So Chiesa's got a very straightforward game plan. Take you down, take your back, choke you out. That's what he's going to do in this fight. He doesn't want to stand with the natural born killer who's 30-12 in his his MMA career, 28 finishes out of 30 wins. A pretty even split too, 15 knockouts, 13 submissions. So Carlos is one of the most well-rounded fighters we've seen in the UFC. He's a lot like Cowboy Cerrone. He's dangerous in every aspect of the fight, whether you're standing or it goes to the ground. Carlos is a killer. He can finish you. But out of his last 9 fights, he's 2-7. He's 34 years old. I think Chiesa's hungry. I know Chiesa's lost 2 fights in a row, but I think that gives him just extra motivation to go out there and get this W, entering into a new weight class. I think Carlos has every opportunity to finish this fight on the feet. If Chiesa doesn't take damage very well. If Carlos cracks him with a good combination, cracks him with one of those great head kicks that he throws, he's got a good chance at finishing this fight. But I don't see Carlos winning a decision. I think that Chiesa, he's coached well. He's going to take Carlos down. Maybe it's boring on top when Chiesa's got him on top. They'll scramble around a little bit, but I'm going to go Chiesa 3rd round submission, and I'll just throw it in there for historical sake, rear naked choke. Also, I keep forgetting Vegas odds for that fight. Chiesa was a -165 favorite. So, the 4th fight of the night, the co-main event, the best female matchup to date in UFC history. The champion at 145, Cris Cyborg, versus the champion at 135, Amanda Nunes. So, Cyborg, pretty big favorite in this fight, -230, Nunez +210. It's hard to argue that. You know, Cyborg to date is the greatest female fighter that we've ever seen. She is violent. She is aggressive. She is intimidating. She is powerful. She moves forward. She applies pressure. You look at her record, and she's 20-1 is her MMA record. She lost her first fight, her debut professional fight. She lost. It was a first or second round knee bar. Since then, she's won 20 fights in a row. Let me just go through what those wins looked like in order real quick. So after she lost that first fight, she went unanimous decision, TKO, 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 unanimous decision, TKO, 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 KO, TKO, 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 KO, TKO, 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 unanimous decision, TKO. She's amazing, guys. I mean, Cris Cyborg, with all due respect, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way at all, or a critique of her beauty or anything like that. She is like a man. I mean, she is built. She is strong. She doesn't give up. She's the greatest female fighter that I've ever seen. But she's facing, by far, her biggest threat to date in Amanda Nunes. You know, Amanda Nunes is 16-4 in her MMA career. She's 30 years old. for the past few years has been running through the 135-pound division. Now keep in mind, although Nunez is moving up to 145 pounds for this fight, she started her MMA career at 145 pounds. So she has been bulking, she has been eating more, she has been lifting more, adjusting to this weight, and it's taken her 9 months to do it, and I'll touch on that in a second. She started her career at 145. So what we've seen her do in the 135-pound division has been unparalleled, though. Amanda Nunes can throw hands, man. She is fast. She's got length. They're both 5'8". Amanda Nunes has a 1-inch reach advantage in this fight. Amanda Nunes can win this fight. I mean, I with as great as Cris Cyborg is, you cannot overlook Amanda Nunes by any means in this fight. I think Amanda Nunes is one of those girls that she throws great combinations. She just doesn't throw one punch. She throws 3, 4, 5 punches in a row. And if she's connecting, especially if she's connecting at the end of her punches, like we saw against Ronda Rousey, she will light you up like a Christmas tree. Merry Christmas, everybody, by the way. So can't Amanda Nunes out of this fight, even though she's sort of a big underdog. I don't like that Amanda called Cris Cyborg out and then wanted 9 months to prepare for this fight. But I think it's really smart that she took 9 months to prepare for this fight. She needed it. She needed to bulk. She needed to train. She needed to get mentally prepared. This is Amanda's toughest. This is the toughest fight Amanda could ever imagine herself getting into. But she's got a chance at winning it, and I think she's got a chance at winning it, particularly because she's had such a long time to prepare for it. She's got great coaching, and I think she's going to come in ready to brawl. That said, though, I wonder if she awoken a sleeping bear. Not that Cyborg has been sleeping by any means, but nobody calls out Cris Cyborg. Nobody dare call her out. And the fact that Amanda did, and she's Brazilian, Cyborg looks pissed. And I've been paying attention to her camp, just even over the last 9 months, not just camp. She's been training just as hard. She knows Amanda is no joke. She's been training just as hard. And what I like about it is Cyborg's been training with Valentina Shevchenko, who just recently took Amanda Nunes to a split decision, who a lot of people thought Shevchenko, including myself, won that fight. So I think Cyborg is angry. She's mad she called her out. She wants to go out there and put a staple in that she is the greatest female fighter that we've ever seen. And I think she's going to do it. I'm going to go Cris Cyborg, 4th round TKO. Now here we are at the main event for UFC 232. Jon Jones versus Alexander the Mauler Gustafsson. Jones, minus 270 favorite. Alex, plus 248. Now, we just need to talk about the elephant in the room. Jones tested positive for steroids again, and there's a lot of controversy around this. I've listened to both sides of the argument from the professionals, Dana and that USADA steroid guy. They're saying that this is leftover from a year and a half ago, that although he's tested negative for steroids the previous few tests, all of a sudden he's testing positive again, and this is from a year and a half ago. It was stored in Jon Jones's fat cells, even though Jon Jones is ripped. It was stored in his fat cells for a year and a half and just poofed out of there for this drug test. Guys, I'm I don't even want to look at anything I wrote down. I just want to speak from my heart. I think it's bullshit. I think Jon Jones is a cheater. I don't like his out-of-the-ring antics. I haven't ever. I admit Jon Jones is one of the greatest fighters we've ever seen. But he's a cheater. Plain and simple. That's how I feel. And I think that's how a lot of people feel. Is that the guy's a cheater, and it's just an excuse after an excuse after an excuse, and I'm just tired of it, man. I just want the guy to be clean and to fight and to win, and then I'll admit that you're the greatest of all time. But until then, you're just a cheat, you know? And it's hard to... If this wasn't such a good card, I might be one of those guys who boycotts it and doesn't buy the pay-per-view just to, you know, give Jones and Dana and some of those guys the finger, because it makes me mad. It makes me mad that I think Jones gets preferential treatment. It's these screw-ups after screw-ups and these excuses as to why this keeps happening, and it only happens to him, man. So, okay, I'm going to calm down. I'll cut to the chase. The first fight that we saw between Gustafsson and Jones was the best light heavyweight fight that we've ever seen. It was a split decision victory for Jon Jones. A lot of people thought that Alex won that fight, even though we did see him in trouble in the 4th and 5th round. A lot of people think that he won the first 3 rounds of that fight and therefore should have won that fight. I think that since then, Alexander has improved. You know, he hasn't fought in a year and a half, just like Jones. I think Alex has improved. I think this is almost kind of one of those Rocky stories, right? Where we know that the Russian was juicing up. He was almost cheating, right? Rocky lost to him previously, but here he is. It's his rematch, and he's out on the countryside training his butt off, and all he's been focusing on this entire time is taking down the man who has never been taken down before, a man who has beaten him previously. It's very resembling of that, and I think that for the past year and a half, well, for the past 5 years since Gustafsson lost to Jon Jones, all he's wanted is a rematch against Jon Jones. And he never knew when it was going to come, but mentally it's almost like he doesn't stop thinking about that. And Jones has moved on a lot. Who's Alexander Gustafsson is what Jon Jones is thinking. You know, he's got so many other things on his mind, and now he's got this to deal with. So heading into this fight, I think that Alexander could not be more prepared for Jon Jones. And I think Jon Jones is well prepared for Alexander Gustafsson. I think Jon Jones has put in a great camp. I think he has been training his butt off. Technically, you know, he's one of the best fighters we've ever seen. I don't think his skills have deteriorated one bit, but I'm not so sure Jon Jones has gotten better. We know he's been improving, or he says he's been improving his boxing, because in the first fight, we know Alexander was clearly the better boxer in that fight. But I'm afraid for Jones, if he goes out there and is so confident that I've been improving my boxing so much, I can beat Alexander boxing, I think he's in for a rude awakening. I do not think Jon Jones has the striking ability that Gustafsson has. So if he goes out there and wants to box Gustafsson for 5 rounds, he's going to lose that fight. But we know Jon Jones mixes it up better than anybody. His spinning elbows, his kicks, his knees. I mean, Jon Jones mixes it up better than any light heavyweight we've ever seen, and maybe any fighter that we've ever seen. In those first 3 rounds that Alexander won in their first fight, Jon couldn't take him down. He couldn't land kicks. He couldn't land elbows. But then in the 4th round, he did. He cracked Gustafsson with a big spinning back elbow to the top of the head, and that changed the course of that fight. So, what do I think is going to happen? Man, I want Gustafsson to win, hands down. I really want him to take down Jones. And I truly believe that every dog has its day. You know, and this is almost, it almost couldn't be set up better for that to happen with all of this controversy. He's such a bad guy now. I mean, he's so negatively regarded throughout the MMA community now. And if you're still a fan of Jon Jones after everything that's happened, then, you know, I don't know, maybe we should grab a coffee sometime because I want to know why. But every dog has its day. And with all of the distractions that Jon Jones has been accruing, I mean, he's under more pressure now to win this fight than he has ever been. And I think Alexander is so focused on taking down the GOAT. I think he can really do it. I think Alexander can win this fight. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't know. Jon Jones is a -270 favorite, and I feel like that's about right. Not quite 3-1, but almost a 3-1 favorite. I am rooting for Alexander all day. But I'm going to go Jon Jones, 4th round TKO, and it pains me to say it, but go Alex. All right, guys, that's it for UFC 232. I hope you enjoyed the content. As always, please comment below. Let me know who you think's going to win the fight, how you think they're going to win the fight, and why you think that's the case. I love interacting with you all. I appreciate you tuning in, as always. I apologize for not making a recap video for the last predictions video that I made, but I was back in Ohio for a wedding. Then the holidays happened. It was a crazy time for me, so I apologize for that. But I am going to be making a recap video for this predictions video. So please let me know your thoughts below, subscribe, and tune in next time. Thank you guys. Take care.